Hey guys, King of Charmander here. Today I'm your judge, your jury, and your analyst, and today I bring to you a sweet and amazing 5-0 with my best ABB team for Ultra Premier Classic. So this is going to be the last season where XLs will be banned and Legendaries for Ultra Premier Classic. Now they're going to come back next year with XLs, and it's going to be a giant pain in the butt. But before that happens, guess what? We still have one more season before they totally kill esports. Well, not kill esports, but kill the future of esports, because high barrier to entry games don't work in the game field of esports. I should know. I recently got promoted as a community manager for Godfire. So I got promoted as a head coach, and now I'm a community manager for Godfire, which is my organization I'm a part of for esports. So yeah, I'm very excited and happy, and that leads to my therapist mental health tip of the day. So, my therapist mental health tip of the day, if you would like to skip this, you can go straight to the chapters and skip it. But for this one, it's going to be about transformational leadership. So, mental health is very important with you as a leader. As a leader, you must keep your mental health as healthy as possible so that you could be present for those that are in charge for under you. In my case, those in Godfire, as well as being a head coach and as a therapist. So, I wear many different hats. And with that mental stress, it can get really big. But I'm highly resilient thanks to everything I've been through and developing and cultivating my mental health to become extremely strong up in here. Because not a lot of people are. They can say they are, but they aren't really. In order to do that, you also must be a good leader. Today's article comes from Psych Central. As usual, I love these articles because they are reviewed by mental health professionals or specialists in their field. And this one's about transformational leadership. Transformational leadership, when it comes to mental health, they use core values like responsibility, justice, and transparency to motivate people to work together under a common cause. And applying an approach called transformational leadership, which is very akin and similar to something called motivational interviewing, which is a technique for therapy. It's actually a modality of therapy. And transformational leadership allows you to create leaders it's a really great way of leadership, basically. And it goes things like individual influence, individualized consideration, stimulation, and inspirational motivation. So there are really solid transformational leaders are able to empathize, which is a key part of therapy, to empathize with other people of their groups and emphasize process in the big picture. And each person in transformational leaders has a sense of ownership. It's not one person owns the ship, it's everyone has collective into it. Because one person, even though he's running a ship, if he tries to do everything himself, he's going to drive himself insane. Mental health. Use back and forth communication, motivate personal growth, creativity is encouraged, and people work towards a common goal. So everyone's working together to make sure that we do the best we can. In my guys, as a head coach for varsity boys and JV for our high school wrestling team, all of our coaches work together to create the best program we can do for the kids and make it the best season we possibly can be. So definitely take a look at this article. It's a great thing about leadership. If you're thinking about your own leadership or developing your own leadership skills, which I do every day, or with my new roles, I will be able to cultivate and practice even more, which makes me very happy. Definitely take a look at this. And without further ado, it's my sweet legendary 5-0 and more battles along with it that will showcase my best ABB team for Ultra Premier Classic. And let's get started. Alright, here's the beginning of this very sweet 5-0. We got Obstagoon on a Charizard. This is kind of a good... Okay, so it's kind of not a good lead for you. The reason being is because Obstagoon outpaces you to Night Slash, unless you get a Blast Burn through shields, you don't actually win this one through. Along with that, if they boost at every given point, you die. In this case, my opponent switches into Swampert, which I'm very impressed with, and I'm like, oh wow, I got caught. However, that's perfectly fine because we got Gyarados. This is why I like Gyarados, because Gyarados traps, well, you trap your opponent's Swamperts onto Gyarados. Gyarados resists everything Swampert has to offer with the exception of Sludge Wave, and most Swamperts are actually running Earthquake. So that's why you don't see me shield here. Earthquake gives you that shot against, does big damage against Venusaur, and because you get same type of attack bonus, it does really well against multiple combinations. So that's why most of the time you will see Earthquake. If you see someone Sludge Wave, it's like, oh, it's very rare. But yeah, So as you see, we got Gyarados onto Obstagoon now, and we're just gonna throw all the energy. We're gonna shake our tail feather, and we're gonna force them to touch our butt. That's a Finding Nemo reference, by the way. If you've never watched the movie, either you weren't born when Finding Nemo was out, or yeah. Dang, I'm 30. That makes me feel old. Anyways, as you see here, they boost, and I'm like, wow, that's great. They were forced to throw their energy though because they could probably sense I was gonna get to a third Aqua Tail. And we have to actually shield here. Had they not boosted, I wouldn't have to shield. But hell, we got a freaking Obstagoon. So now our opponent switches into Charizard. I'm going to go ahead and break a shield first here. And then I'm going to swap to Swampert. Unless they don't shield at all. But even without it, they're probably going to top left because of the fact that Swampert's just going to outpace you to Hydro Cannon. Blast Burn won't kill. It'll do like half my HP, so will Dragon Claws, but I'm pretty much in control of this entire matchup because I can still get the 3 Hydro Cannons before Charizard gets the 3 Blast Burns, or a Blast Burn and 2 Dragon Claws. So as you see here, I'm just going to overcharge a lot, and I'm going to try to fire on CMP or on the same interval, and I'm getting there close. I'm not going to shield this Dragon Claw. As you see here, if you're not using Shadow Swampert, you can be a little more safe about taking moves. And I'm just trying to fire Hydro Cannon right away before that timer goes up. Even if they sack, it doesn't really matter here because I still have my own Charizard and I can still get to another, well, I can't get to another Hydro Cannon, but Charizard has energy basically. So as you see here, I'm just going to go straight for Dragon Claw, and that's game. Although this team is very powerful, it does require you to have huge coconuts below your waist, or giant coconuts, because you're going to have to be very risky, and you're going to have to be really good about your energy management. So as you see here, all we got to do is Wing Attack goes down, and we smack down that opposing Charizard for the dub. But it's going to, as you see, yeah, a lot of energy management is required for this team. We got Charizard and Trevenant. Thanks to that buff to Wing Attack, Charizard is now an absolute beast, and you see it a lot. We win the lead here, and then we get, this is just pretty much RPS. I'm just being put it plainly. But the thing about it is, our opponent kind of jacks up because Trevenant can actually beat Charizard if you could Shadow Ball through shields. You don't want to give up Swap as much as possible in Ultra Premier Classic because you're very prone to RPS. Well, yeah, that's why it's kind of better to just either sack your lead and then just try to set in your back row with extra energy. Because that's what happens with Ultra Premier Classic. Unfortunately, it's not very... Yes, it takes a lot of skill, but not in the alignment department. And then we get Trevenant back. The reason why you saw me take a bunch of damage here is because you don't want your opponent to farm you. You want to make sure your opponent doesn't farm you as much as possible. And you see me give up Swap here. The reason why I gave up Swap is because I wanted to either bait out the Swampert. If there's a Trevenant, and we have... a Charizard Safe Switch with Dragon Breath, it's very likely they have a Water type in the back, and that's why I have the Swampert. This is where I will draw out Swampert. But the reason being I'm doing this as well is because I still have a full-on Gyarados in the back that resists everything Swampert has to offer. So I'm literally just going to Dragon Breath my opponent down. I don't have to throw anything here. Hydro Cannon, Earthquake are both resisted, and they likely do not have Sledge Wave. And as you see, the Hydro Cannon comes through, and all I'm going to do is just breathe and just blast down my poor opponent. I don't have to fire anything, but you're going to see me pull off an amazing sack swap. Absolutely amazing sack swap. I probably didn't need to do this, but hey, you got to practice. If you're a fan of basketball, Allen Iverson, and we're talking about practice. And now my opponent will viciously die with 2 shields. Because now I just solidify my win condition by absolutely just torching our opponent to death. And they just top left because they already know it's game over. GG, sir. You're going to see a lot of sweet sack swaps in this. Mind you, I don't actually count. Like, I go based off of instinct and timing just because I've played this game for so long. Which most players that have been playing for a long time actually still don't have that ability for some odd reason. And they try super hard by counting every single little bit of energy. I don't count. But you see on the side there, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, and they're stressing their freaking balls out when I'm not doing it. So as you see here, we got Muck. We win the lead, but we got Muck onto Swampert. Now I'm going to send it. I'm just going to go straight for the Earthquake. Our opponent has to bank and call baits here, so they have a lot more pressure than us, and we have shield advantage. So I'm just going to go straight for the 6-9-4-20 Earthquake, and then I'm just going to absolutely level our opponent from the face of the Pokemon world. There's the Earthquake. Bam, boom, destroyed. Crayola Slime is now annihilated, and we got Machamp. So fun fact, Machamp doesn't actually lose super hard against Charizard. Well, before, now it does. So before, Machamp doesn't, but because of the wing attack buff, now there's a lot of pressure on Machamp. I try to get to another Hydro Cannon here. I'm unsuccessful. That's fine. I'm going to send in Charizard and shield everything our opponent has to offer because they're likely going to dump a crap ton of rocks on us. That's Rock Slide number 1. I'm expecting Rock Slide number 2 to come any second now. I don't want to get... I could not no-shield this and just Dragon Breath down, get some extra energy, but I still have a really healthy Charizard, and that's a Scizor. So this is game. All I have to do is fire this Dragon Claw, break a shield, and then I can go ahead and send in my Gyarados. Gyarados resists Steel, Water resists Steel. It also resists Iron Head. So because of that, our opponent has no choice but to Night Slash their way to victory, and I can just straight crunch them to death if they don't get the boost. So, because of that, our opponent knows it's game over, and they're going to top left, and that's GG's, because they already know it's game. So, as you see, just outworking your opponent, making the right calls, and absolutely wiping them from the face of the earth. We got Machamp and a Charizard once again. And this time we get a Drapion. So, Drapion on a Swampert. That's a Hundo. Okay, so mind you, XL Drapion isn't allowed right now in Ultimate Classic. It'll be allowed next time around. It's going to be one of the most annoying things in this freaking cup because XL Drapion is actually really good. However, outside of that, this is probably a Hundo Drapion. And yeah, I'm like, wow, a Hundo Drapion? And I'm like, okay. So I'm just going to straight Hydro Cannon here. Since I didn't get debuff from Crunch, I'm not going to fire anything. And all I'm going to do is just overcharge. Like I mentioned to you earlier, get as much energy as humanely possible. We're going to fire the second Hydro, well, was it the second? I think that's the second one. We're going to fire the second one, and then Machamp should be coming in to farm us down, but we should be able to get to another Hydro Cannon. And it's actually a Walrein. So this is actually terrible. Walrein is one of the worst things you can encounter because Walrein actually beats your entire back row. Unless you're really fancy and you break a ton of shields, etc. So as you see here, I break a shield with Earthquake, hoping that went through, but that's okay. And now we're going to get Icicle Spear to death. Because Walrein's, even though Icicle Spear got nerfed with the extra energy requirement, it still does enough damage and Walrein still has enough bulk to give you a really hard time. My opponent is making every single call known to the earth right now, and I'm trying to roast you so I can create seafood, but unfortunately that's just not happening right now. They give up Swap and they send in Machamp. This is okay though. I'm going to shield here and then get rid of this Machamp, or I can just let it go. In this sense, I just choose to let it go, and then I'm going to go ahead and just Dragon Breath down this Machamp. The thing is, I'm in a lot of danger right now because of the fact that Icicle Spear does so much damage, but I don't want to eat a Rock Slide. So as you see, I call a Crotch Chop. I'm going to overcharge a little bit, but I'm in a lot of danger right now. So I have to sack. Remember I told you there's going to be a lot of sexy swacks during this show because this is my literal win condition right now. I must sack successfully, and here you go. With 1 HP in a dream, my opponent fires Icicle Spear. We catch the move, and I get my second sack for this Shopcast because if I didn't sack, yeah, sacking is my win condition here. And not only that, I need to get the debuff, and I do get the debuff. So there you go. Everything literally lined up to where I had to play perfectly in order to win this game because, like I mentioned to you, Walrein is actually the worst 6 out. And with 1 HP in a dream, IVs matter on this day. We Dragon Breath down, and that's game. Wait, that rhymed. That was sweet. But yes, that was literally my win condition. I had to get the debuff. I had to sack. Otherwise, I lose. So before everyone says I'll go, like I mentioned, Walrein is the worst thing you can see in the back with this team. And as you see, I just wiped it from the face of the earth with extremely nutty plays. We got Sirfetch'd on a Charizard. So this is actually bad for your opponent here. This is, even though you technically win, this is really neutral because they actually win the 2 shield. Because they get to Night Slash really, really fast. So I could just double Dragon Claw there. They can choose to double shield and just Night Slash to Oblivion. So they actually still win this lead. Just because they have such an energy advantage because of counter discharging so fast. Especially if they boost. So you technically lose this lead. So before people say I'll go, you technically lose the lead against Sirfetch'd because they have a better matchup. And then we get a Flygon. So Flygon is a very interesting mon because Dragon Tail got buffed. It has a lot of play, but I'm like kind of scratching my head because there are better things out there. Not only that, Dragon Breath, Charizard, and Kingdra beat Flygon, so I'm just kind of scratching my head. Hydro Cannon goes through and it takes big damage. I send in my Gyarados in an attempt to catch a Sand Tomb or Earthquake, but this is actually a Dragon Claw, which is perfectly fine. Alma goes to try to just Dragon Breath down my opponent, and they send in a Gengar. And with 2 shields up, this is game. So we pretty much solidified our 5-0 here. All I have to do is crunch this Gengar, and then all I have to do is Dragon Breath down, and that's GG's. I hope y'all enjoyed the battles. As you see, this was an incredibly sweaty 5-0. Incredibly sweaty. The first attack, I didn't really need it, but the second and third, the second one, I definitely did. And this is just one of the best sets I've had for a 5-0, because it really just showcases how, with a lot of game time and play time, you can come out with a dub and get a few freaking 5-0. So, player skill, yes, there's a huge amount to it, but there's only so much you could do against RPS as well. And as you see, here's the sweet 5-0 manifested from just absolutely nutty plays from my best ABB team for Ultra Premier Classic. So as you see, Gyarados is a very powerful safe switch, and it really does well when you can line up with those Swamperts. Like I mentioned, there's a lot of extra battles here because I did a lot of extra battles. So here we go. We got Togekiss on a Charizard, and I hate Charmers. Absolutely hate Charmers. And by the way, Charm got debuffed. It didn't get nerfed that much, but hey, you know, some is better than none. And as you see, we have a giant flying albatross in Togekiss. So here's the funny part. The reason I really want to showcase this battle, they're going to fire Ancient Power and I'm going to shield it. But here's the hilarious part. Watch what happens. So they Ancient Power, they get the boost, and then they swap out. I love it that happens to people. I love it when it happens to Charm Trainers because I'm like, you don't deserve the dub. Unless you're doing it There is one scenario where I will approve of Charm strats or Bastiodon strats, and that's when you need to get your sets done. Because all of us have lives, and we need to get our sets done, so I'm perfectly fine if you're trying to save your time. That's when I'm like, alright, cool. But if you're trying to do it and pretend you're hella good, you're not going to learn a lot with tap-tap strats. You are not. Seriously, you're not going to learn a lot with tap-tap strats. One turn fast moves you do because there's a lot of sack potential in there because you have to call, and it's very difficult to call one turn fast moves. When it comes to sacking, you need to be literally perfect. And then as you see here, all we're going to just send in Charizard, farm down, and then that Togekiss is probably going to come in and get wiped from the face of the planet. If they send a Togekiss, that means they back row does not like Charizard, and it happens to be Typhlosion, but this is okay. I'm gonna fire Blast Bird, even if it doesn't go through. If we break the shield, we have Swampert in the back. So all I have to do is send in Swampert. Just make sure I overcharge a lot here. Don't have to worry so much about the charm damage overall because of the nerf of charm. Like I said, it wasn't even that much. Hydro Cannon's gonna go through, and then I don't even think this trainer got the memo too. This is like I mentioned, if you're really bad at the game and all you can use is Charmers, because with Charm being nerfed, this gives a lot of people that don't have a lot of good energy management or matchup health management, etc. They just absolutely, this is where I'm like, yes, now we have to lower Smackdown so that we can go ahead and nerf Bastiodon as well. I'm going to be able to hit the 69420 Earthquake, level this Typhlosion off the face of the Pokemon world. Like, I love using that reference just because it's true. And that's game. You will not beam me on this day. I will not. I'm the king of beams. Hashtag get beamed, and I'm not going to get beamed on this day. No, sir. We get Charizard versus Venusaur. Now, the reason I'm showcasing this, yes, I win the lead, but guess what? We got a Walrein. And remember what I told you, Walrein is the worst thing you can see as a safe switch. So here's what you can do. The thing about Walrein with this team, you want to stay in with Charizard and try to get as many shields as you can and have your back row come in with shield advantage. So I'm going to double Blast Burn here and take both of their shields. After taking both of their shields, I can swap into Gyarados. You can send in Swampert as well, but because Swampert is such a fantastic closer at Ultra Premier Classic, you don't exactly want to give up Swampert. So I'm going to double Blast Burn here and pray it actually goes through, and I'm like, please don't call this. Please don't call this. And of course, they freaking call it. I'm going to send in Swampert this time around, though, because I'm sensing that if they had that lead, if their lead is a Venusaur, you want to get rid of Swampert. Because you don't want Venusaur to come in here and wreck your life. Venusaur still has a great matchup against Gyarados and Swampert. Well, especially Swampert. Against Gyarados because of the fact that Vine Whip does neutral damage. So as you see, the Earthquake goes through. I'm not going to shield anything here. We're going to save both of our shields for Gyarados. The reason why I want to get rid of Swampert is because of Venusaur. You don't want Venusaur to come in and end your life. So I'm going to try to go ahead and Earthquake this Venusaur to Oblivion, and I actually get there, which is great. Like I mentioned, extra energy management is very key for Ultra Premier Classic, especially if you're using the budget mons in Swampert, Charizard, Gyarados, or anything else with 10k dust and legacy moves. We're gonna go ahead and send in Charizard, and I catch the move. Oh, this is why I wanted to showcase as well. I'm on fire, baby, with 1 HP and a dream. Well, that's not really 1 HP a dream. We get the sack, and then we got 2 shields up, so it's almost like, yo, unless you have an Ampharos in the back. Well, even if they do have an Ampharos, I still have 2 shields. You'll kill most of the things with the 2-shielded freaking Gyarados, and here we go. We got a Machamp. I still got 2 shields. We're gonna shake our tail fin. We're going to actually smack the crap, left hand, backhand, whatever you want to call it, whatever you prefer, against this poor freaking Machamp. So we're just gonna smack the unholy crap out of you, and we're gonna laugh at it. But dang, oh man, I love that sack was glorious. Yes. If you do this for but that's why I'm so bored of this game now, because I can pull off sacks like that so effortlessly, and I'm like, dang, man, I'm bored. I'm really bored. I'm super bored. Unless they overhaul this system, I ain't competing in any regional, because it's not worth my time and my money. You know how it usually works with the regular esports world is that orgs will pay for you to go to tournaments, etc., and you will present your org. However, Play Pokemon puts shirts over you. So not only are they killing their own esport, but they're also preventing you from growing the esport because they're so hard on about money and so hard on about this being a child's game. But here's the thing about Pokemon, though. The thing about Pokemon is that Pokemon, you're literally having monsters fight each other. This is literal cockfighting. You have chickens fight each other, or dog fighting, because you're having monsters fight each other. This isn't PG. This isn't as PG as you would think. Pokemon is a very violent game. Very violent. Now, unless we're watching the Teletubbies, that is not PG-13, but yes. Now, I have Charizard on Charizard action here, and the reason why you win this, you win the mirror match. It's just based on whoever has CMP. You can go straight Dragon Claw thanks to the Wing Attack buff, but it just depends on who wins CMP. Whoever wins CMP is going to win the matchup, and then you either just sack your Charizard in the lead, and then you have to give up swap, like you see my opponent give up here with Kingdra. Unfortunately, Kingdra fell off the totem pole a lot as far as safe switch potential just because of Walreign's existence. So unless you outrage through shields or get the Obstagoon debuff, not really a great matchup for you. And this is why as well, this is why Dragon Breath Gyarados is a boss, because it absolutely melts Kingdra, especially if you get that debuff on Crunch, by the way. And then we get Swampert. So this is why I absolutely love Gyarados. I haven't seen a lot of them running around, which makes me really surprised, because Gyarados is a really underrated, it's one of the best save swaps, and it's a really underrated pick. Its ability to just do well against Swampert, beat pretty much every single dragon in the meta, and just tank damage like this, as in like being able to tank Aqua Tails, Hydro Cannons, other water attacks, makes it such a good mon. Now here's what kind of sucks. I need a sack. And I don't get the sack off. However, I'm able to put so much pressure on my opponent here that with Dragon Claw, I should be able to chip down enough on my opponent or break that last shield, because that Dragon Claw will kill Shadow Swampert and then fire Hydro Cannon. Now, because I have Hydro, this is actually really advanced because I'm forcing my opponent on CMP. Because this should force CMP, and then I will fire my Hydro Cannon, take out my opponent, and then they lose all this energy with their Swampert. So as you see, that goes down, and we get the Charizard in the back, and that's game, because it's just going to take one Hydro Cannon to take them out. So as you see, you can lock, I call it CMP locking, where you'll lock your opponent into a CMP matchup and take them out like you did, Sam. And before you call out, you cry algorithm. Before you cry algorithm, allow me to bestow upon you the worst lead, one of the worst leads you could possibly see in Ampharos, because it absolutely melts Gyarados as well as Charizard. And I have the worst safe swap you can possibly see for my entire team. So I love posting battles where people that cry algorithm. Here's the thing. Yes, there's an algorithm for Go Battle League. Yes, there is, because it's matchmaking. Matchmaking has an algorithm where they'll match you with another player. Now, the nature of Go Battle League is that you will lose leads, etc., blah, 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 blah. That's the way it is. However, player skill can neutralize losing leads and switches. There's always a win condition if you can find it, unless you're absolutely red countered. What I mean by red counters is that if you go on PvPoke and you see a red matchup where you're literally like, I have a 90 rating score, it's almost impossible to come back. As you see here, I Earthquake through shields, come out with shield advantage, and I'm able to farm down this Walrein and have it lose all of its energy. The reason I'm doing this is because I have to come out with shield advantage, and I need to give up, one of my mons has to go. In this fact, I'm going to use Charizard. I'm going to hope I Blast Burn through shields here, and I have to time my shots correctly as a Volt Switch comes through because of my poor timing, in order to make sure they don't get any extra energy. So we're able to get the Blast Burn through shields, and this is phenomenal. Because of this, I can actually let Charizard go, and then I can send in our Gyarados to go ahead and Dragon Breath down. And I have a Sack in Swampert. We get Monk, and I think y'all already know what's gonna happen here. In order for me to win this matchup out of losing lead and losing switch, I'm gonna have to pull off an insane move here, and guess what? That's number 5, baby, and I call the Sack, and my opponent is like, bro. And not only that, I catch the Sludge Wave. So as you see here, my opponent actually goes to 0 enemy. I'm a god of Sack swapping, literal actual god, and all I have to do is really just Dragon Breath down. One Sludge Wave or Dark Pulse won't kill here, but my opponent is hurt enough to where, thanks to that Sack, I should be able to just Dragon Breath down and get the dub. So as you see, Dragon Breath down goes, and then there you go. So that's for all my Algo people. And then I just Dragon Breath down to Ampharos. That's for all my Algo people. This is for you. Player skill matters in Pokemon Go PvP. Yeah, there's an Algo, but player skill matters. And that's GG's. And that's game. I did a lot of battles for the Shoutcast. They were all very sweet, but I wanted to give you a lot of angles of how you play this team, because it really is a really good team, and it's very powerful and does a lot of work against the overall meta. And it's also a budget team as well. But I'll also be featuring another budget team later down the road tomorrow, so definitely keep on the lookout for that. But I hope y'all enjoyed this Shoutcast, and those Sack swaps are sweet. But that just takes a whole lot of practice, and mind you, this is like the power of Ultra Instinct. I should call it Ultra Instinct. That's a really good one. Really good reference. Those of you that watch Dragon Ball Super, or have seen all those memes or like those references flying around everywhere. But yes, I hope y'all enjoyed the battles. I hope y'all enjoying Season 13. And it's been pretty chaotic. I'm not gonna lie, it has been pretty chaotic. There's still a lot of bugs that are going on. The one that makes me mad the most is the charging buttons disappearing one. Like, I don't know how that's still a thing. I really don't. But Niantic has been they're pushing a lot of PvE stuff, and of course raiding as well. They want to make that money. They want to make that money before we finally, 5 years from now, the Pokemon Go Tour, the new one for Scarlet and Violet comes out, and they're finally like done with Pokemon Go after squeezing every single dollar they can from every single microtransaction out. But I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Again, I'm looking forward to putting more battles out there, and I really should do more Scarlet and Violet content. It's easier to do Pokemon Go because I'm so used to it, and it takes a little bit for me to get Scarlet and Violet stuff together. But it's also the holidays soon, so make sure y'all take care of yourselves. Make sure y'all take care of your friends and family. Check up on them because holidays are coming soon. It can also be very lonely, but that's another mental health tip of the day for another day. Again, like I always say, please like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Good luck on your Go Battle exits, and I will see y'all on the next video.
All the things that I have craved, these are what I could have received.